2. The assembly of divided identical Ksitigarbha bodhisattvas. At that time, in the 10 directions of this universe, there were 100 quadrillion Asamakyeya worlds, unthinkable, indiscussable, immeasurable, and unspeakable to count. Wherever any of these worlds has a hell, a divided identical Ksitigarbha bodhisattva resides there. From these hells, all the divided identical Ksitigarbha bodhisattvas came to Triastrimsha Palace to attend this Dharma gathering. Inspired and moved by the miraculous power of Tathagata, there were innumerable sentient beings, 1 quadrillion Nyuta of them from all directions, who had been liberated by Ksitigarbha bodhisattva from the path of karmic reincarnations in the 6th realm. They came along with those divided identical Ksitigarbha bodhisattvas to Triastrimsha Palace with offerings of incense and flowers to the Buddha. They had been taught and delivered by Ksitigarbha bodhisattva, and their determined minds, intent on seeking Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, would never regress. From the remote long kappas of the past, these sentient beings had been wandering in the bitter sea of birth and death, stumbling and suffering in the 6 paths of reincarnation, without a moment of rest, relying on the immense kindness and mercy, as well as the miraculous power generated by Ksitigarbha bodhisattva's profound vows. Each of these sentient beings had validated various levels of sagehood. Having arrived at Triastrimsha Palace, they were exceedingly overjoyed. They gazed admiringly and respectfully at Tathagata, their eyes not leaving him for a moment. At that time, Bhagavat extended his golden bronze-colored arms to bless and touch the heads of 100 quadrillion Asamakyeya divided identical Ksitigarbha bodhisattva mahasattvas, who came from all the worlds, an unthinkable, indiscussable, immeasurable, and unspeakable number. The Buddha said to the Ksitigarbha bodhisattvas, I have taught and influenced many obstinate, hard-to-tame beings in this foul time with the 5 contaminations, making their minds tame and virtuous so that they may forsake all their devious and evil ways and take homage in the true Dharma and the right ways. Nevertheless, there are still 1 or 2 out of 10 who have tendencies to do evil. Like you, I have transformed myself into 10 trillion entities and applied an infinite number of vast, convenient methods to rescue them. There were those with sharp and wise roots. As soon as they heard the Dharma, they believed in and abided by it. There were those who had done many virtuous deeds with plenty of mundane blessings, but they needed to be inspired and encouraged from time to time to remember that favorable consequences are the result of doing virtuous deeds. There were those who were dim and dull, that required long, continuous efforts to enlighten them before they would take homage in the 3 jewels. There were those who had serious evil karma, who would not be respectful towards the 3 jewels. Since these beings were under different karmic influences and capacities, it was necessary to appear in front of each of them as an equal, transformational entity in order to rescue them. To a man or a woman, I would transform myself into the form of a man or a woman. Or to a deva, I would appear as a deva, and so on with nagas, gods, or ghosts. I would even manifest myself as a mountain, a forest, a river, a plain, a stream, a pond, a spring or a well. Using these convenient techniques, I would influence, inspire, and rescue all these beings. Sometimes I would transform myself into the form of a Deva Raja, a Brahma Raja, or a wheel-turning king. Sometimes as a lay Buddhist, a king, a minister or an officer, a bhikshu or a bhikshuni, an upasaka or an upasika, or even in the form of a shravaka, an arhat, a pratyeka Buddha or a bodhisattva, and more for the sake of rescuing these different beings. I do not only appear to them as a Buddha. Look at me. For past infinite kappas of lives, I have been diligently exerting various techniques to rescue those most obstinate, hard to tame, sinful suffering beings. However, there are still many untamed beings who will meet their retributions according to their karma. When you see them falling into the evil paths and suffering severe distress, you must remember what I am entrusting to you in this Triyastrimsha palace. From now until Maitreya becomes a Buddha in this mundane world, all sentient beings in this Saha world are under your care. You are to rescue and liberate them so that they can forever depart from suffering, and you are to continue your care until they can encounter a Buddha to anoint them as future Buddhas. Then, all the separate, divided, identical Ksitigarbha bodhisattvas from all different worlds reassembled into one entity, moved by the great mercy and kindness of the Buddha, as well as the grave mission entrusted upon him, Ksitigarbha bodhisattva became tearful. Ksitigarbha bodhisattva said to the Buddha, "For long kappas of time, I have been guided and empowered by the Buddhas, and I have gained inconceivable, miraculous power, along with great wisdom. My transformational bodies fill the worlds, as many as there are sand grains in 100 quadrillion Ganges rivers. In each world, I have transformed myself into 100 quadrillion entities, and each entity has delivered 100 quadrillion beings, leading them to take respectful homage in the three jewels, to leave forever the bitter sea of birth and death, and to obtain the happiness of nirvana. For any sentient being who performs virtuous deeds, as instructed by the three jewels, even if the deeds are as small as a strand of hair, a droplet of water, a grain of sand, a mote of dust, or even as tiny as the tip of a hair, I will make use of that little virtue, and I will let it grow in order to gain liberation and great benefits for that being. Therefore, I pray that you, Bhagavat, will not worry about those beings of future generations who commit evil deeds." Ksitigarbha bodhisattva reaffirmed his promise 3 times. I pray that you, Bhagavat, will not worry about those beings of future generations with evil deeds, because I will help them gain liberation. At that time, the Buddha praised Ksitigarbha bodhisattva. Wonderful, wonderful. I shall support you with great joy. You will succeed in those great vows that you have been making for long kappas of time. When all beings with evil deeds are rescued, then it will be time for you to validate the stage of a Buddha.